What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Manga Talk, where I talk to you about manga that you may or may not have heard about before, and if you have, just discuss it. Again, this is not a review, this is a discussion, so it is not like this is the greatest of all time, this is utter garbage. So, without that, with that, just saying that, if you like what you see, hit subscribe and all those other things that people usually do. So, without further ado, though, I am going to talk to you about a manga that maybe people know about. It's pretty, it's big right now, so, yeah. And that manga is, if you've read the title, you already know. If you didn't and you just randomly clicked and you didn't see it, well then, we are going to talk about My Hero Academia or Boku no Hero Academia, depending on whether you want to be a weeb or not. Why am I laughing at that? This is pretty big right now. It is very, very good, very good. But not going to talk about everything right now. For now, I will talk about the facts of it. It is a shonen that is written and illustrated by Kyohei Hirokoshi. I think I got that one right. 1 out of every 30. But, yeah. Kyohei Hirokoshi wrote it, illustrated it. It runs in Shonen Jump, Weekly Shonen Jump. So, it gets a lot, and it is been going on since July of 2014, and it is still going to the present of day. It is pretty good, and it's going on for a long time. So let me get you a little bit more facts, though. Like I said, facts, though. One, there are the chapters that are out now. They are culminated roughly into 27 volumes as of recording into this, but only up to volume 25 has been translated into English. Specifically, I just, as the day that I'm recording this, bought volume 25 and haven't gotten around to reading it yet. So those volumes, though, from 1 to 25 cover chapters 1 to 246. That is a lot, and it is a very awesome story, and it's a shonen, so there are going to be tropes. There are going to be certain things, aspects that are going to be similar between one shonen to the next. So without further ado, though, I'm going to start talking about the story, which I'll get into it, but it's a great story. I love it. That story is a superhero one, which is pretty rare in the manga industry. You'll probably see it a lot more in comics, like Western comics, like Marvel or DC. And I'm pretty sure Hirokoshi got a lot of inspiration from comics, specifically. I think even one of the cover arts of My Hero is inspired by a cover of a Spider-Man comic. But I am getting a little bit off topic a bit. The story is pretty simple. It kind of reminds me of X-Men, but slightly different. So, in the world of My Hero, you have 80% of the population having these powers known as quirks that came about because one child in China was born with like the ability to glow. So yeah, and from there people just kept on getting more and more people got more and more quirks and all that, and that is they essentially derived the abilities quirk as like it's your personality quirk or something like that. Excuse me. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's sort of like I said, the X-Men, except slightly different. In the X-Men, the mutants were the minority, but in My Hero, the non-quark people are the minority and the quarked people are the majority, which is a very interesting take. And I think, like, there's still some problems with that in the world, and that is mostly shown through the eyes early on with the main character of this story. That is kind of odd, but good. The main protagonist of the story, Izuku Midoriya, is, simple kid, really dreaming to become a hero like his idol All Might, and finds out he doesn't have a quirk, because you can't really be a hero without a quirk in the society, which, gotta say, if it is weird a little bit, just side tangent, coming off of the explaining who Deku is, which is a nickname that he gets, but the world is kind of weird, because I'm just like, so why are the governments allowing these heroes instead of just being like they're part of the police force? That part is always a little bit weird, but I guess that's how they do it in comics, so I guess that's how it works in most situations, where it's just like, yeah, technically you're a vigilante and all that, but we're gonna still allow you to do your things with the police because of reasons. But there are vigilantes in this world also that aren't being, they don't have a license to be a hero. But I'm sidetracking because Deku wants to become a hero like his idol, All Might. Like I said, All Might is the greatest hero that is of the generation that is growing up. Like, he's equivalent to Superman or friggin', what's a good one from... Actually, Superman is a good comparison. He is the greatest hero of all time, and Deku just trying to be like, I want to be a hero, but I don't have a power, is really good at studying and all that. And eventually, because this isn't a spoiler, he eventually meets up with All Might. All Might is like, okay, I'm going to give you my power, and you're going to carry on the mantle, essentially. So it is pretty straightforward. It's sort of like, what's a good one to compare to? Shazam? No, not Shazam. Like, Dr. Fate, maybe, a little bit. Where you pass on the mantle. I'm like, there's a hero that I know that has something similar to this, but I can't remember what. That you just pass on generation after generation. What is it? It's gonna bother me until like a week from now, and like when I'm recording the next video, I'll be like, that one. What is it? Damn it. But I'm digressing. It just follows after that, after he gets All Might's power, all for one, and shows how much he grows, and like him reaching the top of becoming the greatest hero. Like, he's probably going to become the greatest hero. Like I said in the freaking Naruto one where I was talking about, Naruto's going to become the Hokage. You know that Luffy is probably going to find the One Piece. But again, if Oda screws us over and they never find One Piece, I'll be like, what was the 30 years at the time, by the time that thing's finished? What was the point? Don't say it was the journey. I want them to find... Anyways. Anyways. I just don't want that to happen in One Piece. I'm just... Anyways. I got a little sidetracked. Yeah, you know that Deku is going to become the greatest hero, but it's definitely interesting to watch a character go from having nothing to being the greatest. Like, you will see him struggle, you will see him learn how to control his powers, which has to be a thing that happens more in manga, especially if you've read enough isekai. if you've read enough isekai, I like isekai, but at the same time, I dislike it because those characters are just overpowered right at the start. I'm just like, I don't feel like there's any tension, there's any growth. With this, every time Deku learns a little bit about how all for one works, his quirk, you feel like he is getting closer to it. You feel like tasks that were once way out of his like depth grow ever so closer. You feel fights that he had no way of winning like a few months ago within the story become closer to getting that. And I could go on for a long time about every other character which has similar growths. Like you will grow to hate his rival, I guess you would call Bakugo. You will grow to hate him, and then I slowly learn to be like, I kind of like him, sort of. He's still an asshole, but that doesn't change the fact that I like him a little bit. And that's just one character, and the character development is very good. Like you learn characters, motivations, certain characters, and it's not just Deku. Like at the moment, allergies suck. At the moment, you are following in the story the villains, and you're learning more about the villains, and you're just like, okay, it's good development, and also figuring out the world. Like the world is very fleshed out. It takes place within sort of like modern day times, but slightly altered because of quirks and all that. You have these characters that grow and adapt, and the world feels like it sort of stays the same, but changes ever so slightly with each circumstances that come about. And you have so many characters that I could literally go on for days going on how each character does what. And like the class that he eventually gets to in the school that he attends to become get his hero's license, dang it, UA, which I forget what UA stands for. It just is called Hero Academy. I don't remember what UA stands for. It just says UA all the time that I can't remember what it stands for. I feel stupid sometimes. But yeah, you have these very interesting characters. But besides just the characters, you also have their quirks, their powers. Which, I gotta say, one, I hate that dog out there. And two, you have these different characters with these different quirks that are very different and very unique that have slightly different ways to use them. And how they develop is not like most stories where it's just like, well, now you suddenly get a power up. No, you go through training arcs, you see characters grow and have to use their powers. It's sort of, they equate it along the lines of a muscle. Like you train, and you rest, you regrow, and you go back and you're able to lift more weights. Like you have the characters train, you have them learn how to use their quirks in slightly different ways. You have characters grow from being able to do one thing and be able to add different structures to it. There are powers that you see all the time, like Todoroki. He is able to control fire and ice, but yeah, and I could go with, like, if I were to just even narrow it down to just the class 1A in freaking the story, that's still like 30 characters that all have unique powers and have different ways to use them. So, with just going off of trying to think of a good one, why did I say trying to think? All for one, the powers that Deku has. Essentially, each person that gets All for One stores power within the quirk itself, and each generation subsequently gets more powers from the quirk. And as a result, he had to do a lot of training just to even be able to have it, or else he would have died. So it is a interesting power that, one, I say that he had to just train to be able to use, to even get the power. To use the power, he has to figure out for a good portion of it how to regulate it. Like when he first uses his power, he literally breaks both of his legs and his right arm. And one, it's a lot of raw power that he has, but it literally damages it. It is a double-edged sword. It will hurt the enemy, but it will hurt him. And if he doesn't, early on, if he did not take a guy down within the first hit or second hit, he's gone. But it also goes to show, at the point that I am in the story now, Deku is able to use the quirks, his quirk at 20% full body without being damaged. And he learns how to do different things with his quirk. It's awesome seeing a character develop and not have every power under the sun right away. And I like that. I love seeing progression. I love seeing how characters change from the beginning of a story to the end of the story. It's one of the main reasons why I like certain fantasy novels that I may talk about at some point if people want to hear about that. But you have a character that is essentially the underdog, and you see him grow from that little speck that no one knew about to become the greatest person that everyone will know about. And I love that. But yeah, it's great. I love the quirks in this series, and I love how people use them. And I'll talk about how they use them, though. But just going off of Midoriya. I want an Oreo now. Too bad I don't have any in my apartment. Anyways, going off of Deku, just specifically how he uses his quirks. Early on, he has to do a lot more strategizing. And he even does it now where he is at. Because, one, yeah, he has a lot of power, but he, early on, and for most of his life, he did not have a quirk, and he had to figure out, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. This is he is playing chess at the level that a grandmaster is playing chess, and you have just 5 moves ahead, 10 moves ahead, where he's like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to get to these certain situations. Hey, when he fights in different group scenarios, this is what we should probably do. Are we all good with that? Good. Ugh. Excuse me. And just growing from there, he still has a tactical mind, and he still knows quirks a lot because he studied quirks, being oh man, I wish I had any of these quirks when he after he found out he didn't have a quirk. You essentially have this character that was pretty intelligent. I think he in his class is the 4th smartest kid, and is just yeah, this is how I should use my quirk. This is how I should use it with other people. And it's great, especially as his quirk develops. And I won't go into too much of a spoiler, because that's I don't know, volume 22, 23, when some crazier stuff happens. But you just have characters besides Deku that know their quirks, and especially the other students in 1A know everyone else's quirks pretty well, that if they were into a combat situation, they could play off of each other's quirks and be able to fight enemies like out of their weight class. That I love. I really do love this. And sure, it's just like normal shonen, and most people would be like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, if I read one shonen, I've read another. But I will say that if you do it, the story is slightly different. Like, there are different parts of it that could be changed in how powers work and with each other. Like, you could have two shonen that are the same, like have very similar stories, but go two very different paths that could be very different. For instance, Naruto and Black Clover have very similar plots, where Naruto was becoming the Hokage and Asta wants to become the Wizard King. But with Naruto, it started to become like, I show you my overpowered move, you become overpowered, and then he becomes Hokage. Well, sure, Black Clover is still going on. It has Asta grow and adapt and learn different ways to use his powers. Not just, I have a great, awesome thing, which is similar to how My Hero is going. Like, sure, he's getting stronger, but it doesn't feel like he's getting stronger without earning it. I love stories when the character earns the power and not just gets gifted. Granted, some might say he kind of got gifted the power with All Might, but you like growing in strength. He earns every single minute, every single like upgrade. He earns it. I love that. But I am digressing, and I could go on for another 40, 50 minutes about just how the quirks and the powers and the fights. The fights are pretty awesome in some situations, and if you watch the anime, some of those like go, whoo, there's some of those that are like really great. But yeah, if you like shonen, you'll probably have heard of My Hero. If you don't like shonen, I recommend picking it up. It is pretty good, and there's very good art in it. Like Horikoshi can do some pretty good things with the art. That what's a good panel? There is a good one. Yeah. When All Might saves Deku and Bakugo. Boop 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 boop. Yeah. So yeah, good art. It feels like you're reading a superhero comic with anime tropes in it, which I love. And it doesn't feel that weird. So, yeah. I think that's it. I don't have anything else, or else I will be rambling for another hour. Yeah. So, with that all being said, I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit subscribe to get more content. If you like this video specifically, hit the like button. If you dislike this video specifically, hit the dislike. And if you thought I don't know, if you thought you like this sort of content and you want to see more, there's a link in the description, or if I ever figure out how to do that eye thing up in the top, where it's just a playlist of all the other videos I have done. So, I think that's it. I think that is it. I have been the Bearded Otaku. You have been watching Manga Talk, and I hope you have a lovely day. And, I don't know, read manga. It's great. You know, your parents said read, so read. Even if it is like a comic. Just read something. Expand your mind.